Last year, a video game was made based off a famous Disney TV show for the Nintendo 3DS, but due to its mixed and negative reviews, it vanished without a trace. Legend has it that deep within the woods, located in the Pacific Northwest, the game lies waiting to be found. Through the means of some convenience of mine, I located a journal telling of its location and various other legends of the Pacific Northwest. Without hesitation or fear, I ventured towards these legendary woods, hoping to find the legendary game.
Found it!
Hey!
Oh shit! Who knew? Who knew a 13-year-old with noodle arms could pack such a wallop? Oh, God!
Says the person that stole the said 12-year-old's book and hat.
Hey! I would have given it back eventually. Why do I agree to let him live here now? So, back to business.
Gravity Falls. Where do I even begin about this beloved cartoon that hasn't already been said? Well, from the mind of Alex Hirsch, and adding a touch of his own childhood memories into it, created a fantastic and clever series with many hidden messages for the audience to decipher, and some brilliant characters, and a story that is just memorable. Not bad for a kids show that's only lasted 2 seasons. Sadly, that does mean the show is over now, but we're still hoping one day it will continue soon. Now, if only Disney would release them on DVD. Now, with how big the series got, it was almost inevitable a game would be based off the show and be a huge success, right? Oh.
Wow. That's unexpected. Really, because this is a Gravity Falls video game, isn't it? I mean, how does it have such low reviews? I mean, you know what? Let's just play the game and see for ourselves, shall we? I mean, can't be all that bad, can it?
Well, to start off with, you get the opening theme song from the show at the menu screen, and that's a very promising start. Although it just loops over again, which is a sad case because I had loved to have heard other music from the show, but this will do for now. The plot is very basic, so I'll give you a little rundown of the beginning. We begin with the twins and their grunkle standing outside and are about to go on a family outing, when suddenly a flying totem pole flies down and then just leaves. Huh. So, with some inspiration, Grunkle Stan tells the kids to go and capture it, so he can use it as a new attraction at the Mystery Shack. He also tells us to collect other junk, so he can use them for new attractions. And so our adventure begins, and right off the bat, I have to say, I love the dialogue in this game. Even without the voices of the cast to help bring it to life a bit more, they do feel like the characters from the show, and the humour is pretty good. So playing as Dipper and Mabel, we follow the flying totem pole into the woods and get stopped by a black fog. So we go back to the Mystery Shack to get a flashlight, so that may help us progress. I'm beginning to see a pattern here. So after that, we finally continue on our quest and find Jeff the gnome being attacked by the flying totem pole until he drops a shiny stone and it flies away with it. It turns out that the stone is an ancient gnome gemulet, which consists of earth, fire, water and wind. And Jeff tells us to go and retrieve them, and if they're not returned soon, the forest will die. And he also tells us he'll reward us with gold, and this of course gets the attention of Grunkle Stan, and he agrees on our behalf. But before we go, the gnomes give us some fancy powers, with Dipper receiving some battle cuffs, and he loudly proclaims that his arms are no longer useless. And Mabel receives a bedazzling sweater. Okay. They are also given specific items like Maple's trusty grappling hook and Dipper's aforementioned flashlight. Ha! Because Dipper is bloody useless apparently. Nah, I joke, because the flashlight can be used to light up dark areas and make him grow and shrink into small paths, while the grappling hook lets Mabel reach high places and pull items down to her. I've got to say, the gameplay is really good, the controls are responsive and the combat is somewhat lacking, but still fun. There are also little side missions in which you have to collect other characters' missing items and return them to them, as they are scattered throughout Gravity Falls, and you have to search through the mines, woods and lakes and so forth to find them. There are many secrets to be found throughout the game, and they can be found by just looking around and exploring some parts of the area. Some of them do require you to backtrack a bit, and well, we'll get to that. There are also little secrets on the map too. Yeah, you can guide your map around and tap little areas on the screen to find these little strange plant things, which in turn are currency in the game in order to buy upgrades from Mvcg. Also, those backgrounds. Love it.
I can honestly say that I'm having a real fun time playing this, and while I was playing it, I had a real hard time finding out why people had a problem with it in the first place. Until they started showing up, of course.
Now, with all the praising I've given this game, there are a few problems with it. Mainly to do with it being somewhat of a shallow game. I mean, the game has charm and the characters are just spot on, but that's really all there is to it. And what doesn't help is the constant backtracking. Now, I don't mind going back to levels to collect an item that I couldn't get before, but after gaining experience and leveling up more, I'll go back and get them. But there were times where it became a tedious chore, and the game doesn't really reward you for collecting all the characters' items apart from some pointless trivia about the said characters, which isn't really worth your time. Now, about those secrets I mentioned earlier, some of them are a little misleading. As I was backtracking looking for the items, and after looking all over, I couldn't find them. Until I started again, and so I decided to go backwards from the starting point, and lo and behold, there it is. Which leads me to believe that I'll have to do the same with other levels and maybe think outside of the box. Well, here's one example of me thinking outside of the box. Yeah, don't do that. Also, unfortunately, you can't use any of the specific items unless the game tells you to, which makes me sad because I'd love to see Maple go crazy with the grappling hook on enemies. And it would be amusing to be able to shrink your enemies with the flashlight. Little things like that can go a long way, you know. Another disappointment was the combat. It isn't all that interesting, sadly. And the only person you'll probably use through most of it is Dapper, who can kill enemies with a few punches. While Mabel, yeah, her only useful task is to disable their shields, and then you'd better switch back to Dapper in order to beat them, or else you'll... It's a real shame because both powers are pretty cool, and one of them is unique. It's just a shame that the unique one is kind of useless. And how dare you make Mabel useless? Another disappointing thing about this game is the bosses. Now, how can I put it nicely? Let's see, they're way too easy. You do the same thing over and over again to defeat them. And there's only 5 of them. 5! I mean, I like the fact that they're all original characters besides one character, but I would love to have been battling Gideon or even Bill. Bloody Bill would have been an epic addition to this game and a much better final boss. I would say that this game does have some replayability to it, but only if you wanted to 100% complete this game by collecting all the missing items for the characters. Then let me just give you one word of advice.
Don't do it. Believe me, it isn't worth it at all.
The only rewards you get is after the game is completed, you can go to the bottomless pit and throw your weapons in. Which is a strange thing to do, but anyway, they come back up and get upgraded to the highest level. After the game is beat. Oh, and also you get a secret ending that shows that Gompus is another guardian of the gems too, but still...
pointless.
I mean, it just baffles me how they got so much right from this game, only for them to f it up straight afterwards. And it's a real shame because this shows so much promise to be a fantastic video game. And all I can say in the end that it's okay. Yeah, I mean, I know it's flawed. Yeah, it's very flawed, but there's still enjoyment to have with this game. Once for a full run through of the game, and then every so often on a rainy day if you're bored.
So sadly this game doesn't hold up very well next to the television series, but I don't think it should be shunned for being a bad game either, because it's still a fun little game to play. Hell, I think I had too much fun playing it the first time round, because I 100% completed it. Man, I am a sad child.
And so guys, ends my review of Gravity Falls Legend of the Gnome Gemulets. An okay game, but sadly nothing really to write home about. Now if you excuse me, I'm going to take this back into the forest where it belongs.
Why is it so cold?
I don't get it. It wasn't that long ago since I completed the Camp Blood series with the film interpreter. And it wasn't that long ago since I borrowed that book and hat from that kid. And didn't I also promise that my next review would be Crash Bandicoot 3? I also remember promising a Spy Kids review. A lot of empty promises that I need to correct. I promised that all in the spring. Surely it couldn't have been that long. Son of a...